here. I started my career as an usher for the American Broadcasting Company when I was going to UCLA Film School. And lo and behold, the arc is complete. I'm back being an usher here at the National Press Club. It's so nice seeing all you good folks here. And we welcome you to the National Press Club's Washington premiere of our documentary, Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, Life and Legacy. My name is Jerry Pearl. I'm the director of the film. That's if you like it. If not, he directed it. I'd like to introduce Nanak, who is the director of photography, my co-producing partner, and who also happens to be my son.
We're so excited and honored to share this documentary with you tonight. I just wanted to ask you all a question. How many of you know that last week was Guru Nanak's 550th birthday celebration? Show of hands. Okay, now, how many non-Sikhs knew the last week was Guru Nanak's birthday? A few. Well, as you can see, not many non-Sikh Americans know much about Guru Nanak, and let alone they don't know very much about Sikhism in general.
And that includes me. All I know is, Sikhism for dummies. That's how I made this film. But we're so excited. I believe it or not that we're asked by believe it or not, seriously. That's why we were asked by Rajwant Singh, a national leader of Sikh Americans in the United States, to make this film. Because we didn't know a damn thing about the subject. I'm sure that's seriously. And in his infinite wisdom, he thought that our lens would be an objective ombudsman for a Western audience. It was Rajwant's vision to bring this film to life and legacy of Guru Nanak to film, and we are so honored that he entrusted us to tell this story.
And it's hard to believe that just a year ago, we were in India, in Amritsar, filming at the Golden Temple and producing this film. And it's really been quite a journey just in this past year to complete this film.
And there's so many people that helped us along the way. We'd like to thank all the folks who contributed to the film, some of who are here tonight. We'd like to thank members of our filmmaking team who are with us this evening, Dominic Mann, back there, Adrian Muse, and Sue Ahora. And we'd like to thank our families. Oh, that's your line. Thank you, the families.
Well, we'd like to thank our families, of course. And I'd particularly like to thank my wife, Ray Newman, without whom I wouldn't have been able to make this film and commit all of this film. So thank you.
And don't forget my grandson, Alex. That's right, he's here tonight. And I couldn't get him to name me. I had no naming rights. So the only thing I could do as a producer is make sure he got born on the same day that I got born. So it worked out very, very well. And we want to thank the National Press Club and their member committee for presenting and organizing this event. Special thanks to Press Club President and tonight's moderator, Alison Kojak, Tammy Lytle, Laura Coker, and Bill McCarran for their continuing support of our work.
Just a reminder that right after the screening there will be a panel discussion, so please stick around after the final credits. And with that, please enjoy Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism, Life and Legacy.
Thank you.
Under a full moon, a child was born in 1469. He would become the founder of the Sikh faith, the world's 5th largest religion. This 15th century teacher, poet, and revolutionary activist, whose universal message, justice and equality for all, women's empowerment, service to others, an honest living, and devotion to nature and the environment were well ahead of his time, and yet his story is virtually unknown to the Western world.
First of all, let's just give another hand to Jerry and Adam for the And thank you all for being here at the National Press Club. My name's Allison Fitzgerald Kojak. I'm the president of the club. We'll get started in a minute. We'll let you have time to settle down. So, but really, I appreciate you all being here. We really enjoy hosting Jerry and Adam for these films. And
The health, the sacred matter.
exactly. And it was quite a revelation, and I actually ended up using one of the physicians that you had here. My other doctor. Anyway, so welcome again, everybody, to the National Press Club. I'm Allison Kojak, the president of the club and editor of the Associated Press. I'm hoping that we'll all participate in a little bit of conversation about the film tonight, about Guru Nanak, and about what we've learned about Sikhism. We have a distinguished panel, many of whom you may recognize from our film. We have not all met, so hello to all you all. To my very far right, we have Dr. Brahmachari Sharan. He's, excuse me, I looked over my paper. He's the first director for Hindu Life and campus ministry at Georgetown University, and he's the first Hindu monk to serve at a Catholic institution. Dr. Akbar Ahmed, chair of Islamic Studies at American University. He has been called, quote, the world's leading authority on contemporary Islam by the BBC. And to my immediate right, Dr. Raghuwant Singh, the former president of Interfaith Council of Metropolitan Washington. Dr. Singh also launched EcoSeek, the international Sikh community's worldwide response to climate change. Thank you for being here. And of course, to my left are Gerald and Adam Crowell. They made this documentary in India, Pakistan, and on locations across the United States. They previously made 4 other award-winning public television documentaries on the subject of interfaith understanding. So thank you. I'm going to launch into some questions, but you may have seen at the end of the road there are question cards. If you have questions you would like to join in the conversation, you may write the questions on the cards and please do it in a way that I can read them. And you can pass them up to the front at the end and they'll get passed to me, or there may be somebody that I can't see very well, Laura Coker, maybe you're collecting cards. I can't see anybody here collecting. You can pass them to the end or pass them to me, subtly. We will,
Is there a collector in the house?
What are you like to volunteer to collect?
Yes,
Oh, Jan!
Oh, Jen, thank you so much.
Always a great volunteer.
Jan Duplain.
Thank you. Jan Duplain, a very active club member. Thank you.
And a public relations group.
So I'm just going to start with a question from Dr. Sharan. Guru Nanak was born and grew up in a Hindu family. What positive tenets of Hinduism do you think influenced his life? And also, the movie really brought up this idea that he was a bit of a rebel. What did he reject? I like a little bit of both.
Yes, well, that's a wonderful question. Namaste to everyone, Sasrikal to everyone. Good evening, and thank you for really thank you for hosting us. And Gerald, you guys did a fantastic job with the film. Thank you very much, and esteemed panelists and to everyone here on a weekday in Washington, D.C. Thank you for coming out. I think that honoring Guru Nanak Dev Ji and this 550th year birth anniversary, it really does allow us to look at how he grew up. What world was he growing up in? And I think that my comments are going to speak specifically to his upbringing, specifically to his context. He is in a place in South Asia and ancient India where the real crossing of worlds is happening. You see him working for Daulat Khan Lodi, who is the collector for one of the kings of the Delhi Sultanate. You then have him working and seeing, as he's doing all the injustices in that society, in political society, in business. But then as he's going out and he's seeing the rest of the world, he's saying, okay, well, this is what business is doing, this is what government is doing, this is what people who have, really vicious agendas with how to control people. You see that on one side. On the other side, those people who are supposed to be the answer, the spiritual people, the quote-unquote religious people, those folk are doing things that look audaciously like what those rulers are doing with their people. Divisive, using those teachings in a way that their founders never intended. And what Guru Nanak Dev Ji was doing, like a lot of the other reformers in India at that time, pre-modern India was full of people such as Eknath Ji in Maharashtra, such as Kabir Das Ji, whose poems also find their way into the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. All of these people are realizing that these people who claim to rule us and these people who claim to have all the answers are really just missing the point. This is where Guru Nanak Dev Ji uses his position, uses his service, uses his compassion to really relight the fire of the original teachings. That's what I think he gains from his interaction not only with Hindu society but with Muslim society as well. He can see it. He says it when he comes out of that river. No koi Hindu, no koi Musliman. There is no Muslim, there is no Hindu. There's only divine beings. There's only human beings. There's only Mother Earth, the nature. This is what he gets.
Well, Dr. Ahmed Mardana, who is Guru Nanak's fellow musical traveler, was a member of the Muslim faith. What in Islamic teaching were important to the Guru?
Could you repeat that?
Well, what things in Islamic teaching followed through to the Guru Nanak's teaching?
Oh, I saw many elements, and it shows the greatness of his soul, where he is interacting in terms of the Sufism, the mysticism. The Sikh faith is deeply mystical, which then points them towards universal compassion, universal love. The fact that there is this great generosity and reaching out to other communities. The egalitarianism also very important, the notion of monotheism. And the fact that he traveled to the east, to the west, as you heard in the film. He went to Makkah and Medina, the holy cities. And so he came back having absorbed so much and at the same time making all these experiences his own. So this became the Sikh faith, this ancient faith and a completely new faith. So we recognize some things from the past, but the Sikh faith itself is new, it's revolution, and it gives something to the world which did not exist before. But I don't want to take your permission to, in fact, thank Jerry and Adam, my dear friends, because I had the privilege of working with them on 3 major projects on interfaith. And I was on these projects, and therefore there's a bit of nepotism, and I'm in this same with them. I want to thank Dr. Rajwan, because I know this has been a dream of his for the last few decades. We've been talking of Kartarpur and Nanak Sahib, and he's been consistently pursuing his dream to pay homage. And he knows how much we also love and revere the Guru. Finally, I would like to congratulate the producers, all of you, and of course our great religious, spiritual leaders sitting on my right, that this close is really your gift to the United States of America. This is the fact that the American the extraordinary surgeon, the Sikh surgeon, was so inspiring, who aspired to meet Pope Francis, who really is such a great figure and reflects the greatness of the Guru. But I would request Dr. Rajwan to take this film and show it to the White House, because there's so much misconception documented. It's not a joke. He really needs to see this film, because if he can see what the Sikh immigrant community is bringing to the United States, it's nothing but a gift to the United States of America. And that has to be appreciated, and you can only do that through the power of the meeting. So thank you so much. About Nanak. The Sikh community is not a particularly large community. In South Asia, you have the Hindu community, which is what, over 1 billion. You have the Muslim community, which may be 500 million. Huge numbers. The Sikh community is what, about 20? 20. And yet the power of the Guru is manifested in the behavior, the actions, and the way they conduct themselves. When you see a Sikh, you see him walking with dignity. His chest, chhati we say, right? Chhati is standing out, he's proud of what he wears the turban. And as a result, very often, like you saw in Houston just recently, where this young Sikh deputy was shot. And I, as a scholar who writes about these things, I said, why should a deputy who's a Sikh be shot? And then I think he has a beard, he has a turban. Obviously some illiterate, uneducated person thought, maybe this guy is a Muslim, and therefore I'm going to shoot him. Maybe I'm just conjecturing. But here is the Sikh community, not once did they say, by the way, you should have shot someone else, not me. Never once. And in our part of the world, in South Asia, you may have heard the news about Kartarpur. Again, the Sikh community, motivated by the spirit of Guru Nanak, brought together two neighbors who are maddeningly, and I think very suicidally, facing each other and talking about nuclear exchanges, nuclear wars and things. I mean, I know that in America, our eyes off the ball, we are obsessed with impeachment and collusion and so on, but there really is a very serious situation. One flash and the whole place was gone. And yet it's the Sikh community. Kartarpur which brought me, and if you had heard the speeches there of Imran Khan and Navjot, it really brought tears to people's eyes because here was Sikhs, Muslims, Hindus uniting. What was driving them was this little community that had become a source of inspiration to the whole subcontinent. Thank you.
Also, Dr. Saini, the film did, I mean, it portrayed what I thought was a pretty peaceful and rosy picture of the Sikh community in the United States. And I imagine that it's a little bit more complex than that in terms of how your community is received in some parts of the country. So I'm sure if you talk about the challenges that the Sikh community faces across the United States.
Well, I feel that this film will definitely help people understand who Sikhs are. And we've been here for the last 100 years, and just from the very beginning, the community has faced discrimination and violence. But more so in the recent times because of 9/11 and the Taliban and the images of Bin Laden. So that has really now gone to the school system where the kids are bullied or ridiculed. So there's a lot of misunderstanding. You know, even though we are here for the last 100 years, people have no clue who Sikhs are. We did a poll in 2015, and only 3 to 4% of Americans had even heard the name Sikh. And 8% might have had some interaction. 75% had no clue that there is a religion called Sikhism. So you can imagine, so that's why we felt that there's more need for us to communicate, let people know who we are. Without saying that we are not Muslims, you know, go after the Muslims. We're very careful about that because this is not something what our faith teaches us.
Not something Guru Nanak would have.
Exactly. So we want to just tell who we are. And this film definitely fills that big gap. And in fact, when we did the poll, asking people who Guru Nanak is, 0% Americans know about Guru Nanak. Nobody knows about Guru Nanak. And he's the founder of the 5th largest religion. So hence the need for this film.
All right, I will admit, until Jerry asked me to do this, I did not know. And I'm a relatively well-educated person. So,
Thank you for sharing that, because it's very important.
yeah.
Even for our community to know why these efforts are important. But thank you. That's very important.
Well, so is there a concerted effort, sort of, I mean, I was very struck by, Especially, almost because I want to go, the sort of Times Square turban tying scene. And the young man who, the high school student, and I can't imagine those are in any way connected overtly, but is there sort of within the Sikh community an actual sort of overt effort to communicate who you are? Or is it just sort of a need that has been known and people are doing this everywhere?
Well, there are several organizations, yes, there are several organizations which have come up since 9/11 to communicate and to educate people about hate crimes, discrimination, and turban tying, turban days in many cities, school campuses, universities. But what we felt was that there's still a need for sort of a marketing, trying to let people know who Sikhs are, but really using the method of marketing or PR. So that's why we started this whole effort of National Sikh Campaign. We ran ads on CNN and Fox and in the local areas to see whether putting out 30-second ads can change the perceptions and educate people. And we found astonishing results. We were able to shift the opinion from people having a negative opinion about Sikhs because of the turban, and then completely shifting 25 to 28%. People saying, oh, this is a beautiful religion. And even, all the top political campaigns can only shift the opinion 3 to 5%. We were able to shift 18 to 20%. And people appreciating that Sikhs are part of America. Even for people who rural, uneducated, white Americans said, Sikhs are wonderful people, we would like to have them as our neighbors. And one thing which is really astonishing, which you should know, that white women above 50 love Sikhs.
So, I don't know what either one of you choose who wants to answer this, but were there particular challenges in filming this movie? I guess both, within the United States you traveled quite far, but then you traveled across the world, choosing communities, choosing individuals. How did you go about determining what to include?
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful for learning the real meaning of tying one on. It was a fascinating experience, and Sikhs are learners, and that was very helpful to me because I'm a learner. I'm a learner. I was chosen really because we've made a lot of films on interfaith understanding, but we're kind of an ombudsman for people who just don't understand it. And I'm one of them. You really have to do your research. You really have to tie one on. But really to learn is. I know I'm not answering your question, but I do want to say one other thing. I have some colleagues here from the United States Information Agency.
Yes.
That's the real meaning of government. Of government today, what it should be. Because that's why I learned so much about interfaith understanding by traveling for the government. Not propagandizing for the government, even though it was a propaganda agency, but it really wasn't. The subjects that we dealt with helped me today and in terms of producing these kind of documentaries. And so this is the way government should really be, and this is what we really got to strive for. And then we'll go to the White House.
I'd like to hear a little bit about this sort of filming of this, choosing where to go and what, there's a lot you could do out there.
There is, and it was, it was very tricky to, our first instinct maybe would be to maybe recreate, if we're doing a story about Guru Nanak, but why don't we recreate Guru Nanak on camera? No, like that we can't, that you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to show him or have an actor play him. So that was kind of our first challenge, like our instinct as a filmmaker. Maybe we'll do a recreation. We couldn't do that. So we had to find ways and find people who shared his values and who you know, that's, I think, kind of how we kind of connected towards showing Sikh Americans who exemplified Guru Nanak's values, and as a way of showing Guru Nanak without showing Guru Nanak. So I think that was one strategy. In you know, going in terms of when we were traveling overseas, we filmed in the Punjab region, and there are certain places like Golden Temple in Amritsar that is an important place to go. There are some other sites that we filmed at that Guru Nanak had been to. But in Pakistan, we actually didn't go to Pakistan, and we had a Pakistani film crew who were very talented and brought a lot to the table in terms of how visualizing that part of the story, which is a very important side of the story. So we were very lucky to find very talented filmmakers there who were able to communicate with and really performed and, you know, created amazing images.
So there are two, by the way, again, if you have questions, do pass them up. I think we covered the one I got, which is a lot about thoughts on why Guru Nanak is not well known in the United States. But I was sort of interested in hearing from Dr. Ahmed and Dr. Sharon also about this notion of marketing your religion, your faith in the United States. It seems like something all of you might need to be doing these days, and which is sort of unfortunate. At the same time, it's an interesting concept to someone like an journalist. So can you talk a little bit about what you see as the challenges of sort of marketing a faith?
Well, you can imagine a Muslim answering that after 9/11, it's almost impossible. I was in class, in fact, literally on 9/11, when the plane flew into the Pentagon, and my challenge began. And Jan here became a very early guardian angel and friend, and she helped me. She said, you must go out, you must talk to people. So I was all over the place, White House, Pentagon, think tanks, and I found that 90% of Americans knew virtually nothing about Islam. It wasn't like they knew a little, like Dr. Ajwan said, this is our challenge. But they, in fact, had some very strange ideas. It wasn't really bad ideas, it was strange ideas. Like I used to be asked, first of all, they all thought we were Arab. So Muslim means Arab to Americans. They've learned now, but I'm talking about the first years. They'd ask strange questions. They said, do you worship the moon god? Or do you worship some particular stone set in the forehead of some statue? It was really, they'd been reading or seeing some 19th century Victorian novels. So it was a tough journey to try to create a dialogue after establishing a base for discussion. And unfortunately, and I will say this about the Muslim community, they were a bit slow to react. So they hadn't realized the enormity of what had happened. And suddenly Americans were asking, what is Islam? Why do you hate us? President Bush's question. And Muslims had not been really making films about themselves, so I'm really glad that the Sikh community has taken the initiative. They hadn't been writing many books, there hadn't been many Muslims really prominent at that stage. We now have several members of Congress and so on, and quite prominent. In the media, a lot of Muslims have started coming up. You have Aziz Ansari and Riz Ahmed and all kinds of media personalities emerging now. But then you didn't. So the American public was mystified, suspicious, angry. And it was a very difficult environment. And it was a challenge for us. And I will put this on record, that we had interfaith leaders like Dr. Ajwan Singh, like Bishop John Chain that you saw in the film, like Rabbi Lustig, who heads the Washington Hebrew, like David Rosen in the film. So you had this incredible group of interfaith leaders who helped Muslims to, as it were, come into the mainstream. And we did functions here, Bishop, Rabbi and myself. And then Judea Pearl, the father of Danny Pearl, who was so brutally killed in Karachi, Judea and myself started a Jewish-Muslim dialogue, and we used to get other religions involved. And we traveled extensively, Canada, America, we went to England. And one of our brightest, most optimistic moments was to to hold a dialogue, Tudepa and myself, in the Moses room. And we were hosted by a Jewish, a Christian, Muslim board, and of course we had several Indian boards. We had at least a dozen from India and Pakistan, maybe more. So that began to then open up the dialogue and open up a genuine bridge for understanding. And I found it very quickly where I could say, but then you guys aren't all that different. They were looking for horns and things and couldn't find them, so they said basically you're like us. And unfortunately, the environment that exists, and I kept repeating this, that the notion of pursuing or oppressing one minority community is a slippery slope. So today you go after the Muslims, tomorrow it's going to be another community. And very soon it happened with the Sikhs. Suddenly Sikhs were being attacked because people had no idea who they were. Or even Indians, there were examples of a Hindu woman, for example, in New York, in the subway being pushed onto the tracks. These things happen. And now, of course, you have anti-Semitism rearing its ugly head again. And suddenly you have a situation where unless America understands that we are all in the same boat, and unless we pull back, this can end up in a very disastrous way for people. And therefore, the message of Guru Nanak is so critical. And the profundity with which it has been expressed here, because it is a living message. And every Sikh, Rajan Singh, carries that message. Unless that message is broadly broadcast, and Adam, you can't wait for someone in the White House. You have to take this message to the top people, because the way America works is, if you're on Colbert or the Daily Show with your film, one session and America will get you know. That's how the media works. And I'm talking from practical experience. You know, with all the nobility in this room, it's not going to get you the mainstream attention that one showing or two showings, mainstream. And I would say go for all of them. CNN, Fox, all the channels.
I mean, that's a very important question. I'm going to ditto what Abraham had said, but then also add a little bit of a nuance. Hindus have suffered from something that is not only 50 years old, not only 100 years old, but actually 800 years old. And that is people presume things about Hindus and think that they know what they are. And so they consign them to the side. This nonsense about monotheism starting in the West. Zoroaster, founder of Zoroastrianism, is remembered as one of the great monotheists. But do we ever think of the Egyptians? Do we ever think of Akhenaten, who was a great founder of monotheism? Do we know, for example, that Hinduism is not one religion? It's 4 separate monotheist religions. That when Vasco da Gama got himself to India, he said, well, this is the land of heathens, this is what the heathens practice, and so this one religion is heathenism. When the British missionaries come over, that heathenism is translated into Hinduism, as in the country Hind. That is the religion that is practiced by these people. And it's something that is perpetrated throughout history, with Winston Churchill, for example, calling Indians a beastly people with a beastly religion. That very infamous quote of his. That perception is what I have had to work against here. Because Lord Macaulay had famously said in the British Parliament that I want to create a caste of Indians that are brown in skin, but are white in tastes and colors. And those folk are the people who represent Hinduism. Now I'm asking you this. When you learned of Hinduism, did you learn it from someone who speaks Sanskrit or someone who speaks English?
Yeah.
Who spoke English? The missionaries. So obviously their interpretation of what we did is what people ran with. People think we're polytheists. People think that we have the caste system. We heard about the caste system. We didn't hear about the Muslim caste system. When both of those fused under the Mughal Empire, that's when the word pollution comes in. You look through any Sanskrit book, I give you that challenge. You find the word pollution next to any of those social classes and social orders. You will not find it. You will not find it. It was when the British came in and listed lower class, or so-called lower classes, as backward and criminal castes, using that Portuguese word casta.
And criminal.
And criminal, that you get this notion that these, mirroring Victorian Britain, that these people are low and to be downtrodden. So this is the kind of ignorance that our own people, through the only fault that they tried to become educated, using Western education system that is a legacy of the British Empire, which is a legacy of what Lord Macaulay wanted. We have to work with our own people. We have to work with American people. We have to work, I'm from England, so I've been working with the British people. To have Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth come to a mandir at its opening was one of the greatest things that we were able to do. And she herself said that I'm here representing what I believe to be true. That we are one people, talking about the same thing in different languages. And if you want to know where that first comes from, Rig Veda, 2000 BC, says, Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vananti, there is one truth that is spoken of differently. Did you hear that in anything that Guru Nanak Dev Ji said? I think you might agree.
And he mentioned Lord Macaulay, who passed this famous minute on education. I mean, changed the very basis of society in India. Then there was no Pakistan. And the greatest contribution of Lord Macaulay to India was what was called the ICS, the Indian Civil Service. This was the elite service that ran India. And of course, the famous quote on the ICS was that it was neither Indian nor civil, nor much of a service. And not Pakistan.
I try to line up the usual suspects. And I find that's a good way to validate the other religion. Bishop Chain
Yes,
compares in terms of compassion.
yes.
And when Rabbi Rosen
Yeah.
kosherizes the Sikhs, amen.
Yeah.
And so that's when really one thing I've always tried to do is rather than, there's very little narrative in any film that I ever do that I do, or there's written narrative. So I usually find lining up the usual suspects, and if they validate the other religion, that goes a long way in terms of believing, understanding that we all share these wonderful things in terms of religion and together through the other, that our similarities outweigh our differences.
To the schools, to aim for a younger generation, because in some senses, the immigrant stories, the older generation coming here with their prejudices, their cultural baggage and so on, it's the young generation that we saw from the young high school students. We really have to aim for that, and I must say I'm delighted Zinat is here with all our children who are very interested in the Sikh faith, and they've got their friends and families, so I'm delighted that they are participating, and my request is to take it out to the schools.
And Ditto what you said, what we have discovered in our polls and this whole marketing strategy is once you educate people and let people know who you are, it was surprising to see how many Americans were appreciative of diversity. Even people that you would expect that they would be anti-immigrant. So I'm very hopeful about America and the world, but we need to communicate, and I think this provides us the opportunity. And there's a very beautiful story I'll just put out. Write about Guru Nanak, that he went to a city called Multan, and people there were spiritually enlightened and very knowledgeable, educated, and they found out that there's some, mendicant has come out outside of the city, is sitting there, just send him a message that we are pretty, established, we have enough knowledge, we don't need you. They sent him a message with a bowl full of milk up to the brim. The message was that this city is full of knowledge and full of wisdom, we don't need you. And Guru Nanak takes a petal of jasmine flower, puts it on the milk. The milk doesn't spit out of the bowl and sends it back. The message was that we are here to create fragrance. We are not asking you to create space for us. I think this is what the message needs to be there. We are here to create fragrance in the world. Each religion has something unique to present.
Don't say you have to go to the White House.
I mean, just be blunt. Well, in the interest of education, we have this question. Why do only men wear turban?
Well, the turban is actually a symbol of equality and justice in life. And many women do choose to wear it. There is no restriction that it's only meant for men. And it is available to anyone. Yeah.
And the other question that I have here is, what did Gandhi think of the teachings of Guru Nanak?
Gandhi actually appreciated many aspects of Sikhism, but he also criticized the last Guru, the 10th Guru's wisdom of us, requiring that we need to carry a kirpan, which is a small ceremonial dagger, which stands for justice, a symbol of justice, that you have to struggle for the rights of others, and if need be, actively participate in defending other people's rights and religious freedom. So because Gandhi was sort of very hard on non-violence, we were criticized that Sikhs, that he went to the extent of saying that Guru Gobind Singh, the last Guru of the Sikhs, was a misguided patriot, which is really resented by the Sikhs up to now. So he's not one of our favorite leaders.
Neither ours. But what he does, and I think this is what is important to bring to this conversation, is that Gandhi is a multifaceted person, he's a human being, and he is not the Hindu spiritual leader.
Yes, that's important.
That I want to make clear. Mahatma Gandhi was a very important person in order to move out the colonial masters and get that kind of injustice that they were wreaking across. Can you imagine starving to death 16 million people? Can you imagine what that must have been like for those people who were like, this is a colonial master? Against that, Gandhi had to do what he did, and he did it, and I can't presume to understand what things were like at that time. But what I will say is that he does not represent the Hindu scriptures. He represents Mahatma Gandhi.
Well, that's important.
We must also give it credit because
Yes.
the movement to get the British out accelerated because
Would not have been
the world focused on one individual, and it took the fancy imagination of the Western public, particularly ordinary people.
Correct.
You know, the trip to England, for example, you had this man wearing a traditional dhoti in the cold weather.
They called him the black-skinned, nappy-wearing fakir.
Yes, but you remember what he said to the king, His Majesty, who complained about his clothes, and he said, "You're not overly dressed or something." So he said, "You've dressed as much for the two of us."
But at the same time, now this is the South Asian dialogue. It's also important to acknowledge the role of freedom fighters from other different communities. That it's just not Mahatma Gandhi who got the independence for India. You have all the people who died or went to gallows, 80% of them are Sikhs.
Exactly.
And the first non-violent struggle against British was launched in 1919 by the Sikhs.
Exactly.
So it's a long time ago. I mean, this is something also that is important to educate.
Oh yes, it's very important. I mean, it's so important. A Catholic university like Georgetown is taking a trip to India with its Catholic students, and we're taking them to Siskan because we want to help people understand that out of the trauma, like what was meted upon the Sikh community by Aurangzeb, decapitating Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji in front of everybody and then giving his son the head in front of people. What happened from there? The call for justice was taken up by Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and he did so with exactly the kind of zeal we would need to do in that era. But also that the Sikhs from that legacy, have developed one of the most beautiful langar projects right there in the heart of Chandni Chowk, right in Guru Shishganj Sahib.
And there were a lot of Muslims who fought for the Indians.
Of course, yes. And you do mention Aurangzeb. I think I cannot let this reference pass without making a mention of his brother Dara Shikoh. You have to point out that if Aurangzeb was unnaturally, I would call it psychotic.
Yeah.
It's not normal the way he behaved with the Guru and also Bhai Diyala.
Yes.
Please remember that he imprisoned his father Shah Jahan, the man who made the Taj Mahal. Look at that.
Yes.
He killed his elder brother Dara Shikoh, who was actually the crown prince of the Mughal Empire. He killed his nephews. He killed his own son. And he got the head of his brother Dara Shikoh, an incredible scholar of tolerance and mysticism, who was the favorite of the Sikhs and the Pandits. With the Pandits, he translated the Upanishad, the Hindu holy text, and chopped his head off, brought it to his court, put his head in a box, had the box put on a plate. So remember this when you mention the other things look like Aurangzeb on a good relaxed day. He sent that to his own father Shah Jahan, the Mughal emperor, who's locked up in a little palace where he can just see through a slit the Taj Mahal. Think of the poignancy of this moment. You can't see the whole thing. And he sent this head of his favorite son to his father with a note saying, just to tell you I haven't forgotten. So when Shah Jahan got this box and he had this note on it, he was so happy, he was elated. He said, thank God that my son has not forgotten me. And when he opened it, you can imagine the horror of seeing his own favorite son's head on the plate. And he fainted. So now, of course, he was terrible to the Sikhs, he was terrible to his own family, he was terrible to the Pathans up in the north, to the Shia in the south. So that was the character of the man. And I'm in fact right now, as you know, involved in a study of Dara Shikoh and Aurangzeb, and I often think that had Dara Shikoh become the emperor as he should have, the history of India, Pakistan, South Asia may have been very, very different. Because when he fell ill, Dara Shikoh fell ill at one stage, it was the Sikhs and the Hindu Pandits and the Imams who all prayed for him because he was so popular with them. In fact, Akbar, his grandfather, presented the land for the Golden Temple. And every time they visited him in Delhi, he would weigh the Guru Granth with gold. And he would present that. Because that was the relationship. Aurangzeb changed it completely. So by the time of the last Guru, it became very bitter, and therefore you had the Sikh, which is a peaceful community. You don't hear any martial utterances from Guru Nanak himself. After that, it became a community which had to learn to defend itself and become martial. And then it did become martial.
So, I'm just listening to all of this, and when you mentioned, imagine 16 million people starving or having Irish heritage. I don't know that there were 16 million, but there were many starving for some reason. But it sounded to me like most of the religious hatred and religious violence is really not about religion at all. Actual theological disagreement, it's just about power.
And they also say that it really began with the British in the 19th century. The divide and rule. Suddenly you're aware that you're from a different religion, riots. There's an argument by historians that it was kind of created, artificially created, to keep the communities on it. Because just think of it. Just think of it. If the South Asian countries had been one, they were united. Because the Mughal Empire at the end, Aurangzeb's time, was Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh and up to Burma. That's what 1/4 of the world's population. And then think of the economic strength, the military strength. The Punjab alone, where the Sikhs were at the heart of the Punjab, it was called the granary of Asia, to feed all of Asia. And then look where we ended up. It was cut in half, and the Sikhs in particular were just chopped in half. Because this land was the land which they cultivated, they loved, they lived there for generations. So there was a lot of tragedy, and a lot of historians tend to be very suspicious of how it all worked out and why it worked out. Because you would have this major world power right now if things had worked differently.
Just going to turn to our filmmakers for a moment, because I was thinking about all these discussions. You've been spending basically your career making films about understanding, mutual understanding, specifically interfaith understanding, which would take away a lot of the arguments that people are using. I mean, do you see, what's the reaction you get and what's your goal?
Let's talk about the goal, and I hope all you folks who perpetuate the goal. The documentaries you can see is a catalyst for dialogue. And each of you, in terms of your boudoir, your church, your synagogue, reached out to the other, had screenings. They look at the film, and what happens? They start dialogue. And they transcend the film. And I think it's very important. It's up to each and every one of you. If those who are in the boudoir, or the synagogue, or the church, reach out, have a screening, go to the other. This is what this film is made for, aside from being on public television. This is what you have to do with it. You can carry this forward. And that's what this really will make it happen for you. This is the reason what the film was made.
It happened here today.
That's right. It's a grassroots. It's a grassroots.
Jerry, you're
It's
sounding
a
like
grassroots initiative.
Jerry, you're sounding like a biblical prophet now. This is what we
It's sounding like a biblical prophet.
I was giving I normally cry when I talk, whatever, and I always remember the former head of Rabbi who headed up the Holocaust Museum. He was following me, and he said, "Will you be available to speak at my funeral?" So, Adam, enough about me, please.
I'm not sure if I can add to what
No,
just said.
just tell me your feeling. You represent you've had all kinds of artistic differences. What's the challenge that you find? What do you see in your lens?
In regards to,
Any way you want to.
well, I guess in regards to the first question, I mean, I've worked with my father and making many of these films, all of these films about interfaith. And of course, I mean, people are of good faith. When we show these films, there's a great need and desire for people who want to talk about these issues in a safe place, and they want to. I think people generally, at least that I've met and what we've been a part of, there's a great movement, at least in the U.S., for people to have better understanding and to continue this movement. And that's why I think we've been able to make these films and fund these films, is because people want to see them and people do want to understand. So I think it does connect to our better nature as people, even though there are all many, many horrible things happening even within our own country through misunderstanding. I think there is also this push for understanding, and that's kind of how we're able to make our films.
Well said.
See,
Well
and
said.
what has touched your heart through the lens of what you've shot, what you've rendered? What has touched your heart?
I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a tough question.
But having said that, look at the wonderful stuff he gets in the camera. Yes, so you may not be able to express it, but you can visualize.
Well, all I can say is that if you do get the opportunity to go to India and you have a camera, there are many, many things, very interesting and beautiful things to photograph and to see. And so that makes my job as a photographer, cinematographer, very, very easy.
And a lot of people have appreciated the way this whole film has brought together all the different elements and the beauty and narrative. I think it's just very well done.
The hardest part of the film was integrating Guru Nanak's life with the legacy. That was not chopped liver in the editing room, in terms of integrating that. When do you go away from his story and come back to it, and making those juxtapositions work? That was tough. That was tough. Always fearful, are you going to lose the Guru's story? they can forget about it, it's Nathan Kaur singing, then you're out. And so that really, I would say, was the most, it was a very difficult editing challenge.
And we had our moments.
And we had our moments. I did not let, and that's the wonderful thing about making it for public television, you see. They're underwriters. You see, you can say, look, you can have anything you want in the film, but it won't be on public television. So that gives you your journalistic integrity in terms of it. Because sometimes in all of these films on religion, it's hallelujah time, and it cannot be, otherwise I can't get it on public television. So that journalistic integrity was my wall against some of the things that were asked for that were important for the religion, but it ain't going to be on public television. So that's always been the wall. And so I always remember it was Dr. Saini. I said, what do you mean you don't want to show his operation? That's what this guy does. You have to show that. You have to have that because Raja wanted to cut to the chase. There's something else. I said, no, we need to stay with the moments in terms of what these people do. So we had a lot of good go, but Rajulan, he's very understanding, and he respected, and I respected points of view, and that's how films are made. Same thing with my son. God knows we had our moments. That's a whole other story. Yeah.
I was just going to say, yeah, no, I love the people that you chose in the medical and the truck driver, and I was just thinking, you know, if Mayor Pete can run for the presidency, your Hoboken mayor I thought was a fabulous person, and I was wondering whether there were other politicians that were visible, and I was reading about this Representative Cook joins the American Sikh Caucus. I didn't know that there was an American Sikh Caucus. I didn't even know that there was that we had a person in the House of Representatives. So I was just curious why he sounds like somebody that would be interesting to talk with. Were you aware of him? Of this congressman who was with the American Sikh Caucus on the House of Representatives?
Yes, I mean he's comes from a family which I think either him or his family was converted to Sikhism, and then he was elected to U.S. Congress. And we have had the first Asian congressman to be elected was a Sikh gentleman in 1953. But again, you know, I think because we had to complete everything in 10 months.
Very tough.
And we started in November, and we had to be done by
the anniversary. It had that.
That's right.
So we had to really, you know, go very quickly to choose which characters would narrate the story and get the diversity of the people who were representing different aspects of Sikhs.
So I want to add something, Sridhar. I'm from Pakistan, and I'm from Punjab. I'm a founding father of Pakistan Constitution. When Pakistan Constitution was being deliberated at the floor of the House, I was the youngest member of the Constituent Assembly of Pakistan. So the present government, present state of Pakistan is being run by a document which was produced by me as a member of the Constituent Assembly. That's my background. I'm from Punjab. My forefathers ruled Punjab for over 200 years during Mughal period. Sikhs took the power from us, you see, in Punjab. And then Sikhs their power was wound up in 1846 after the Battle of Sabrao and Battle of Jallianwala, where the Lord Lake Army defeated Sikhs in Battle of Jallianwala and Battle of Sabrao. And then the British troops moved into the Punjab. I know the Sikhs very intimately because we worked with them. We were rulers of Punjab, so we worked with them. Sikhs are a very strong enemy and a very strong friend. They are wonderful people. And let me tell you that we have got a race called Jats in Punjab. Jats are divided into three religions: Muslim Jats, Hindu Jats, and Sikh Jats. Sikh Jats. You see, among the Hindu Jats, they produced a man like Sir Chotu Ram, who was one of the most brilliant politicians that Punjab has ever produced. He was a Hindu Jat. Among the Sikhs, Sir Baldev Singh, Sir Bhuta Singh, Sir Swaran Singh, Sir Ujjwal Singh. These are some prominent Punjab Sikh families. And then Maharaja Bharvinder Singh of Maharaja Patiala. So these were some of the prominent Sikh people who were there before partition. My niece, my elder brother's daughter, is married in Bhattis of Nankanas. Their forefather was Rai Bular.
Yes.
Rai Bular was the Maharaja of Shekhupura, and Guru Nanak's father was an accountant with Maharaja Raja Bular, and one day the Rai Bular was going with his courtiers on the horseback. He saw Guru Nanak sleeping under a tree, and a streak of sun was coming on his face, and a snake was ducking that streak. He was a sensible man. He realized that this man is a man of not worldly world. He's a man of God. So he gave 1,000 scales of land to Guru Nanak, and Guru Nanak has written in his book Granth Sahib that no Sikh is a Sikh unless he respects the family of Rai Bular. Now Rai Bular's family, present family, is our son-in-laws. They are Muslim Rajputs and in Shekhupura, and all prominent Sikh community, whenever they go to Nankana, they stay with them because they have got a huge, big air-conditioned Haveli, and they are now planning to build a five-star hotel in Nankana Sahib, and that will be known as Guru Nanak Hotel and Community Center, for the Sikh community. So I know Sikhs very intimately, and I have got a lot of respect for their dignity, for their respect. Guru Nanak was a Sufi. Punjab produced two Sufis. One was Guru Nanak, and later on Bulleh Shah. Bulleh Shah's philosophy and the philosophy of Guru Nanak is similar. And that's why when Bulleh Shah's coffees are sung, Sikhs become mad, and they throw their dollars on the singer who sings Bulleh Shah's Qawwali. And I am from Kasur.
Do you have a question or a single
This is my observation, and my observation is that Sikhs are wonderful people, and they are very, very hardworking. They are one of the finest colonizers. If you want to colonize any area, take the Sikhs there, and they will build you a new society.
Thank you very much. We're just about out of time. I want to let you all, if you have anything, final words.
Well, I just want to thank you for hosting us and really playing a very positive role of inviting.
And just remember, she's an investigative editor for you, so she don't know what story will come out of this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary.